Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to season 6 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and since Friday is Valentine's Day, this week I'm joined by a very special guest, my Valentine for the past 26 years, my husband, Patrick Tully. Patrick has graciously agreed to join me this week to discuss, you guessed it, love songs. This week, Patrick and I are going to discuss songs that remind us of each other and songs that have been important to us as a couple. As always, two are Patrick's picks and two are mine. Which songs do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case our song picks are new to you, we'll publish a playlist with the episode so you don't miss a beat. Wow, babe, it's great to have you join me.
It's
One of the
great to be
most
here.
one of the most fun things about hosting the show is getting to spend time with those that I love to talk about music. I obviously love having artists and creatives and teachers and entrepreneurs and the like on the show. And it's extra special when I get to host friends and family. So let's get started. A famous question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Patrick, what are you listening to this week?
Well, this week for Valentine's Day, the first song that came to me when you asked me about being on the show was Taylor Swift's New Year's Day.
Yeah, it's a good one. I love it. It's obviously from her Reputation album from 2017. But I teased this in the intro a little bit, but without intentionally doing so, we kind of both used our first picks this week to choose songs that reminded us of each other, right? I mean, it's not like you're rolling around listening to Taylor Swift on a daily basis, right? Like, tell me why this song.
So you're correct. Taylor Swift is not normally on my playlist rotation.
That's on you. I've tried.
Yeah, totally. Well, I've listened to her plenty, and she makes amazing music. Um, it's a different experience for me, and one of the reasons I picked this song is there's a lyric in the chorus. I'll be picking up bottles with you on New Year's Day, and you had given me this song on a CD playlist years ago. I think when it first came out, and as soon as I heard that song, that lyric really stood out to me um, as how you and I are in it, good and bad, thick and thin. We have the fun times, and we have the cleanup afterwards. And that's immediately what I thought of with that lyric. And I was so happy you put that song because it immediately embedded itself in my memory as really fundamental to, I believe, how you and I have showed up over the years, which is through thick and thin.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this is Taylor's wheelhouse, right? Like she's the queen of writing songs that sort of sum up the beauty and pain and hard work and immeasurable rewards that come with relationships. And to me, this song is one of her best in that space, and I think about like I remember putting this on a playlist for you, yes, back in, 2017 when we were still burning CDs and things. But I also like the literal meaning of this song too. I certainly love like the metaphor of like, I want your midnights, but I'll be cleaning up bottles with you on New Year's Day. Like for sure, love all of that. But I like the literal meaning of it too. And when you're a longtime couple, I mean, we just celebrated our 26th New Year's Eve and New Year's Day together. I mean, that's a really long time. When I was thinking back on it, I'm like, we celebrated the new millennium together. We We celebrated with my mom before she passed away. We celebrated at 9 p.m., which was East Coast New Year's when we lived in LA because we had a brand new baby. We've celebrated at big parties. We've celebrated with friends. And this past year, we celebrated in a foreign country. It really is incredible to mark a relationship in terms of how many new years you've celebrated with one another. And so I love this song for so many reasons, but that's one that really resonates too. Just the fact that we have so many years that we've started together. And like you said, kind of through thick and thin, we do it. We show up every year, year after year. And you called out the cleaning up bottles with you on New Year's Day line, and I think my favorite in the song has always been, "Don't read the last page, but I stay when it's hard or it's wrong or we're making mistakes."
Yeah, that's a powerful lyric also, and we quite literally have picked up plenty of bottles after New Year's Day. Like that song is meaningful in two ways, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think it speaks to the commitment, right? It's the commitment that I've made because I know you're my person, and I think it's the same for you. Like, no matter what we're doing, we're in it.
well, I think
And
relationships are challenging, and maintaining a relationship over the period of time that we have, like we've changed as people. We're different
oh,
people
we were
than
babies when we met.
yeah when we first met, and sometimes it's the commitment itself that keeps you together, because you might get really frustrated in a moment or just completely misunderstand a situation, but it's that commitment to the outcome of staying together that keeps you asking the question, what am I missing? What do I need to do to be better? What can I learn to understand this person better? And to try to show up in a better way. And it's that commitment that just, at least for me, brings that next thought and that next question, and always asks, what can I do different? How can I be better? What do I need? What question do I need to ask to understand this better? What can I do different here to honor this commitment? And at least from my point of view, the result has been absolutely stellar. Like, we have had so many amazing moments together over the years, and while we've had our moments where we've had to ask those questions pretty deeply,
Mhm.
I believe on the whole, the amazing moments have far outweighed the moments, when
Of
we've held on to that
questioning.
commitment
Yeah.
to keep us going. Yeah.
I would agree. I can hear like any of our friends or family that are listening right now, like calculating all the times, like, oh, I wonder which particular instance the Tullys are referring to right now. So many. We are a dynamic, not quiet couple.
Yeah.
So, we're both the firstborn. We both have lots of opinions. So, yes, we definitely have weathered many storms. But lest the listeners believe that everything is a drudge and a commitment and a slog, we have to transition to your second pick because I think this song speaks to some of the really, really good times, and some of my favorite memories of us as a couple. So tell me what your second pick is.
So my second pick is Babylon's Sister by Steely Dan.
Yeah, this was originally from 1980 from their Gaucho album, but I think you and I know and love it from a decade of Steely Dan. We'll get
Uh,
into that. But
yep.
Steely Dan is one of those bands that either you get it or you don't. And they're for sure not for everyone, but they're for us. And they always have been. This is a place where we've always been able to come together. And I think another thing to note is we tend to have pretty different musical tastes, and music means different things to us. It's such a huge part of my life. It's something that I interact with every day, a lot, a large portion of the day. It's meaningful to me in a way that is not, that does, it carries more weight maybe for me than it does for your average Joe. Like, it's something that I know you enjoy and love, but it's certainly not as prominent for you and in your life. And I think that that's always something that's interesting. People that know me know I'm such a huge music fan, and then they meet you, and that's not one of your probably top 3 or 4 interests. And so it is interesting when we do come together on, a particular piece of music or a band, because it gives us an opportunity. Or I think for me, it feels like I get a chance to sort of bring you into my world a little bit. And then there's a ton of music that you love that I wouldn't have been exposed to without knowing you. So I feel like Steely Dan's one that we kind of both equally brought into the relationship because we both loved it. But tell the listeners why Decade of Steely Dan is the album that resonates for us in regards to this song versus the Gaucho album, which is the album it originally appeared on.
So, A Decade of Steely Dan has been played, I can say with confidence, on every road trip we've ever been on, and
Everyone.
on many of the drives where it was just getting somewhere.
Yeah.
When Jen and I first started dating, we both lived in Southern California in the LA area. And sometimes our dates consisted simply of driving up PCH and back. That
Yeah.
was it. Just a couple hours in the car, talking, listening to music, um, and we got to know each other's musical tastes, and conversation was important, and we learned to talk to each other over that time. But I mean, we've been all over the country listening to Steely Dan
All over the
in,
world,
in the
babe. We
car.
listened
Yeah,
in Greece. We listened to them when
yeah.
we were in the UK. We've listened in Germany. I mean,
Ireland.
everywhere we've been,
Yeah,
Ireland, yeah, Costa Rica, like every place we've been, I feel like Steely Dan's been with us. So it's hard for me to not hear a song off of that greatest hits Decade of Steely Dan album and not think like, oh, where are we going? It immediately conjures like
yeah,
road trip or
yeah.
travel for me. And I think,
On the road.
yeah, that's always kind of been like a true north for us. I think when we're struggling or we're having a hard time connecting or we're feeling frustrated or challenged by where we are in the relationship, hopping in the car and driving is like something that we've always done to sort of get back to where we need to be. And I think that this album and this song in particular, because this is one of my favorites off that album, I think that always brings me back to that space of like, okay, we got to get back to our road trip vibes, the way we connect when we're driving and traveling together. Like you said, whether it's in a foreign country or whether it's up PCH or whether it's around Austin, Texas now, where we live currently. Like, I just think that this always to me is a reminder that there is a place, lots of places, but when it feels like it's hard to connect, this is one where it's always easy to come back to one another.
Absolutely, absolutely. I get that same feeling when that comes on. It just brings that flood of memories of all the places we've been and all the good feelings we've had in those times, and the joy and the new experiences, and it's just it evokes such a positive feeling when I listen to any of the songs on those albums. But Babylon Sister is my favorite one on that album.
Yeah, we've always come together on that one, babe.
Yeah.
Well, this week I have to say I've finally felt the pain of my guest. Whenever people join the show, they're like, "Oh, it was so hard to just pick 2 songs." And normally, I if I don't get to, pick a song that I really love in one week, I'm like, "Well, they'll be next week," and I know I can come back to it. But when you've lived over a quarter of a century with a person, you have lots of music tied to memories. So this week was really special, and it was hard to pick just 2 songs from the past 2.5 decades with you. There are so many I could have drawn from. We could do a Valentine's episode every year and still not cover. We could do a Valentine's episode every day, every year, and probably still not cover
Yeah, there'd be
all
new.
the songs. But there was one song that rose to the top. I think kind of the way New Year's Day did for you. There was one song that I'm like, if I only can pick a song that reminds me of Patrick, that reminds me of our relationship, it had to be this one. and it was Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, from the album of the same name from 1975. I think this song comes to mind for a lot of different reasons. And I think people that are Pink Floyd fans, or people that just, that even just know this song casually, are sort of like, wait, really? That one? But I think it's not a stretch to say that you're almost like a Pink Floyd scholar, right? Like, you've gone deeper on this band than just about anyone I know. And I know lots of music people. And I think like it bears repeating that, like, you're not a huge like music guy all the time, know the facts and trivia and all of that stuff, unless we're talking about Pink Floyd. Like, I would never go head to head with you on Pink Floyd trivia and expect to win. um, why do you think that is? That's something that I'm like, I've always wanted to. I think I've asked you before, but like, this seems like an apropos time to capture it for posterity. Not being a big music guy, like in general, what is it about Pink Floyd that drew you to them and has caused you to like go so deep and hold them so dear all these years?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I've gone deep on Pink Floyd because they the musicality and the lyrics resonate so much with me, and at various periods of my life, as I've gotten to know the band. And I think another thing, about me, anytime I take an interest in a thing, I go obsessively deep on that thing, and I learn everything I can about it. So for me to like something is a commitment because I'm going deep, as I have with Floyd, and that song in particular, and that album as a whole is such an
So good.
excellent album. That album, a lot of that album was about Pink Floyd's experience with the music industry, and reflections on Syd Barrett, the former singer,
Hmm.
and I think that's a lot of what "Wish You Were Here" is about. But more so for me, that song has always been an anthem of an emotion that I feel when I'm not around the person that I love, which is you.
Oh,
And
that's a good answer, babe, because it would have been weird if you'd said somebody else.
true story, true story. But I think we all connect with music in an emotional way, and for myself in particular, my emotions don't always live on the surface, and music is a way to draw them out, and especially understanding Pink Floyd's story and why they wrote those albums, and how that music is connected with me, and the emotional connection I have to those sounds. Um, lyrics in music have never been as important to me. I don't hear speech as well as some other people, and so the experience of listening to music for me is much more about the music, and the human voice becomes its own instrument, um, and sound in the ecosystem of the song. And I think that with Pink Floyd, they have such strong musicality. They're another one. Like, Steely Dan arguably makes the best produced albums ever. Um, Pink Floyd's right up there on that list with the way that they make music, the creativity involved, how they bring different sounds together. Some of their earlier albums have some really interesting musicality and extended plays and unique sounds, and the way they bring all that together is so it's fun. You're always going to get something new, and it's fun for me to observe how my emotions come out around those songs. And Pink Floyd as a group, and in particular "Wish You Were Here" and "Fearless" is another song that
Yeah.
evokes a really strong response from me. And
Yeah, I mean, I I love the way that you love Pink Floyd. Like, that's how I feel about almost all music. And so it's fun to connect with you on that level because I know that that's a band that you've gone as deep as a person can go on, and it means something to you. And I'm so glad that this song finally showed up on the show as well. I think we've had Time and Saint Tropez have been on the show, but it felt like this was the right moment to have this song make an appearance and feature as well. And I think another thing, you kind of touched on it, is although the song has kind of a romantic title, it's widely thought to be about how the band struggled to find their way after Syd Barrett, as you mentioned, founding member, had a total mental breakdown and left the band. Some say it was because he was schizophrenic. Some say it was an acid overdose. Like there's all kinds of lore around it. But it was interesting when I watched the documentary, The Story of Wish You Were Here, to hear like David Gilmour and Roger Waters sort of separately describe the original concept and how it differs from the interpretation that the song is exclusively about Syd Barrett. Like Roger Waters, who mainly wrote the lyrics, describes it as being directed at himself, and like a reminder about being present in one's own life and freeing oneself in order to truly experience life. Whereas Gilmour, on the other hand, concedes that, like, even though what Roger Waters is saying is true, he never performs the song without remembering Syd Barrett. And Roger Waters then like also adds that the song is also like super, like all Pink Floyd music, is open to interpretation. And so I think if that's the case, I chose this song because I know how important it is to you. And because of that, it's become really important to me. But I think that it's also about, like wanting somebody to be there that isn't. And it's about, fighting on despite hardship. It's about being vulnerable and lost at times. I've always loved the line where it says, "Did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage?"
Yeah.
And like, to me, this is like a metaphorical way of expressing like you can live life openly, with the vulnerability to open your heart to the war that love can be, or you can be closed off and safe, but you're just in a cage, you're not out there really living life. And so that's always stuck with me. And, the moment I realized, and I'd heard this song obviously before you and I met, but it meant something different to me until we met. And when we did, that was always the part that came to me. And again, when things are hard or confusing, like I go back to that and I think like, okay, you can be really closed off and not address this and just be in a cage, or you can do the hard work of like going to war. And that's an extreme metaphor, but not that we haven't had our fair share of doing that over the years, but like you can get out there and just be vulnerable and open, and that's, I think, when the magic comes. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
And I think that war is sometimes like not that far off when you're talking about love, because love can be all consuming at times. It can be brutal. It can make you feel incredibly triumphant. Like Pink Floyd never lacks for deep lyrics packed with tons of meaning. And I think that this song is just, we could go on and probably have a whole show just about this. But again, when thinking of you and thinking of us and getting ready for Valentine's Day, I could not have in good conscience put this playlist together without including this song. And then the second one, I think this one had to go on the list as well.
Agreed.
This is a song called "Come Rain or Come Shine" by Ray Charles, from the Genius of Ray Charles album from 1959. And I had to include this one. Why? Why did I have to include this one, babe?
It's our wedding song.
It's our wedding song. Yeah. So many people have done versions of this song: Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland, Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Don Henley, who got vetoed as the version for us to use at the wedding. Listeners, I'm going to throw that out there. Patrick put his foot down and said, we are definitely not using the Don Henley version of the song.
Nope.
So my dreams were dashed there, but I'm kind of glad I'm very glad that we ended up going with the Ray Charles version, because I think it's timeless. And I think, year one or whenever we were engaged or first getting married, I love Don Henley again. Everybody who's even listened to the show once knows I'm a huge Eagles fan. But I think now just the timelessness of this being a Ray Charles standard really speaks to what it means and what it meant for us then, and especially what it means for us now.
Yeah, his voice is just phenomenal in that song, and that's another one. Aside from us having that as our wedding song, that just evokes a strong emotion in me when I listen to it, and even more so now because it reminds me of that day, and that was such an amazing day. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
We hosted for our friends so that they had so much fun, and
Yeah.
a good time was had by all. And
Good time was had by all. I think like
yeah,
chime in on social media, anyone that was at our wedding, and like let everybody know. Like we did throw quite the party that day. But I think it's nice to close out the playlist with this song too, because I think that this song was kind of New Year's Day before New Year's Day, right? It has the same general message that like I'm with you no matter what.
yeah,
Happy together, unhappy together, and wouldn't that be fine? You know, he says that pretty early on in the song. And I just think that this song always brings me back to us when things are hard. You know, like you said, it reminds you of our wedding day and the fun we had that day. And for me too, it brings me back there, and it makes me remember again why we are doing this whole thing in the first place. You know, and then I think the song just has the perfect ending. I'm with you always. I'm with you, rain or shine. And that's how it's been for the last 26 years, babe.
yeah. It's while we've had to work to get here, and every time we've sat down to focus on that work, it has paid off with more magical moments along the way. And
Yeah.
I feel like every time we get another one, it's deeper and more meaningful than the last because we're building that depth as we go, and that's what doing the work in a relationship does. Is it it builds that tower up, and those amazing moments just keep getting deeper and deeper. And I love that about how we each show up for each other and our relationship. And I love that we have songs like this to remind us of all those moments and how we've built it to this point. So
Yeah, me too. And I think it because we do the hard work, we feel like we've accomplished something, and that allows us to play and have fun most of the time, right? Like we
yeah,
know that most of the time we're going to be good, but when we do have to like sit down and do the hard work that is required when you're with someone for 26 years, you know, you're willing to do it because like you said, you know it's only deepening the connection, and you know you're going to get back to the fun as quickly as possible. And I think that's something I've noticed over the years too. You know, an argument that would derail us for a week back in the day is solved in 5 minutes now. You know, that's kind of the benefit and the fun of a long-term relationship.
yeah, or it's not even a thing
Yeah.
anymore. I've started noticing that like stuff where I would have blown up at is just it's
Yeah.
gone. It's not even a thing anymore. It's
It's true.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Rain or shine, babe, rain or shine.
Well,
Well,
I'm really grateful that you have had the commitment to stick with me because I'm no easy guy.
oh my gosh, you're not. So true. Again, listeners, back me up. Those of you that know Mr. Tully. Well, babe, it was super fun to finally have you on the show after 6 seasons. It's taken a long time to get you here, so I'm really glad that you joined me. And we didn't have to call the divorce lawyers, so I think we can consider this episode a success.
I think so too. Thanks again, babe. I appreciate it.
Well, listeners, I hope you are able to celebrate love this week, no matter what that looks like for you. Self love is as important as external love. So please remember that as we head into Valentine's Day. As always, please be sure to follow, download, and share this show. And if you love listening, please drop a review on Apple or Spotify for us. Last but not least, to stay informed on all things Super Awesome Mix and what are you listening to, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.
Love you, babe.